pilot chapter of Bleach, also known as Chapter 00, was the manga that Tite Kubo presented to the editors of Weekly Shonen Jump. However, his idea was rejected. Kubo may have resigned but was personally encouraged by the creator of Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama, to continue drawing. Then Kubo returned to the basics of his story and changed some of the things in his pilot to create the Bleach that fans know and love. Some of the differences are as follows. The plot for this pilot is similar to the eventual series, but with some noticeable changes. First off, Ichigo's family never comes up, focusing instead on Rukia saving him from a massive hollow after he thought she was attacking an innocent spirit. The setup of Ichigo having to do her job as a Soul Reaper remains the same, except Rukia expending her powers has led to her shrinking down so small that she can fit in a mug. The main plot kicks in with Orihime, a supporting character whom Ichigo is attracted to. However, in this chapter, Orihime dies and goes to Soul Society at the end. Yes, it is indeed true, she kicks the bucket and needs to be taken to Soul Society. As for the hollow that attacks her, it's an interesting twist on what eventually made it into her first major arc in the main series. The character dynamics are almost exactly the same as they eventually became during the series. Ichigo and Rukia argue constantly, with Rukia taking the bossy role. Orihime is just as much as a kind yet spacey girl as she was in the early chapters, with her crush on Ichigo still readily apparent. In a weird little turn, Ichigo has a crush on her as well. Another significant change is that Rukia has more power in her relationship with Ichigo, shown in a very funny scene where she forces him out of his body with a little fork object. Otherwise, it all plays out in a similar manner to the final versions. There are minor backstory differences, like how Ichigo's family runs a morgue instead of a medical clinic, but the personalities are ultimately the same. The main conflict mirrors Orihime's first interaction with a hollow in the main series, down to who the hollow actually is. The speech is even familiar, but it does a better job at establishing how tragic the hollows truly are. Innocent people corrupted by loneliness and despair due to their unstable nature as spirits, lashing out against those they deeply care about for the desire made by their own twisted minds. It's handled well in the time given, establishing Ichigo's more sympathetic side and Orihime's kindness. Along with Rukia's sense of duty, how the hollow is actually stopped surprised me and put a good cap on the story. How the pilot was set up for future installments was the best part, truthfully, because it's far more logical to what actually occurred in the final product. The dialogue really makes the pilot work. Ichigo is still young and dynamic, acting tough, but constantly showing signs of how green he actually is to the situations he's thrown in. It's played off Rukia's hardened business first attitude much in the same way as the main series, but putting more attention to Ichigo's immaturity and idealism while going more with Rukia's experience with her work, mocking Ichigo's youthful bashfulness. When Orihime finally pops up, she keeps up perfectly with the two in a comedic manner, such with how easily she accepts Ichigo has become a god of death, and the worst regret she gives after dying is that she died by falling downstairs. It's Kubo's comedic writing at its finest. The art is on the same level as the original chapters that followed. There's a lot of rough character designs, but I think it adds some extra personality to everyone, especially Ichigo. He just works better as an awkward, okay-looking kid than the Bishonens he's evolved into. The Hollows, however, lack their mask motive and look mainly like normal spirits that can turn into more monstrous forms. I understand that angle, allowing them to disguise themselves. But I am glad Kubo decided to change this. The one weird thing is that Ichigo has 2 stars on his kimono, located on the sleeves, as did Rukia with little flame logos. They don't really fit, and I'm sure most of us don't really miss them at all. This is the Bleach pilot chapter, the early ideas of Kubo. The very first version of Bleach. Ichigo's hair is colored black. After giving his Shinigami powers to Ichigo, Rukia shrinks in size, Orihime dies and goes to Soul Society at the end of the chapter. Instead of performing the Kanso, the souls are given a ticket to enter the Soul Society. The concept of entries is reintroduced in chapter 546 of the manga. The Hollows do not have masks. Ichigo's Zanpakuto is about the size of a standard Zanpakuto. The father of Orihime, who had died 3 years before Orihime's death, arrives to take her to Soul Society. Rukia identifies him as a Hollow and reveals that he killed Orihime so that she could stay with him forever, because she had stopped praying for him and apparently forgot about him. Then he is defeated by Ichigo. This concept was of course later adapted into the official, with the character of the father being replaced by Orehime's brother Sora Inoue. And last but certainly not least, Rukia is a member of the 3rd Division. This is a really well done pilot for the series, and I can see why Bleach was picked up. The concept itself isn't that new, but it has great writing and a lot of fun comedy. It just really oozes personality. This is Bleach Origins.